Hi, my name is Shruti Mohan, and I'm one of the curators with the Erasing Borders Festival of Indian Dance 2020. And on behalf of the entire IAAC board and the curatorial team, I'd like to welcome all of you, our wonderful viewers, to today's performance. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our performer for the day, Ganesh Vasudeva.
Namaste, Shruti.
Namaste, Ganesh. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. So tell me, where are you located right now?
I am in San Francisco, California.
Wonderful. How's things going in California?
With the California fires, it is very smoky.
Oh my goodness. This has been a tough time for everyone around the world and especially here in the US, right? How have you been coping up with all these things happening around us?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of the artists I have talked to have had similar issues. For us to create anything creative in the world where there is a lot of suffering, that has been hard to calm the mind, uh, task, create to go and do some kind of like movement and then see what comes out. All those things have been my and
So, Ganesha, I really want you to talk to us because I want our audience to understand your journey as a dancer. So, let's go right back to the beginning. Where did you grow up? What was your training like? Who were your gurus? Tell us everything.
I grew up in a small town near Udupi in southwest coastal Karnataka. And as far back as I can remember, I remember dancing around, jumping around. I did not start my formal training until I was 10 under Guru Chandrasekhar Nawada. Um, and I did that for about 7 years till I, went off to college. Once I graduated, I moved here to California, and I tried different dance forms, and none of them are like Bharatanatyam. I even tried flamenco for a few years. The purpose of these other dance forms I have tried are entirely different from Bharatanatyam. So I wanted to go back to my roots to Bharatanatyam. And then I trained under Srilata Suresh for a few years. And at about this time, around 2009, I started with Bragaka, Srimati Braga Bessel, training under her for Abhinaya. And a couple of years ago, I went to India for 6 months, went to Chennai, became my home, and then studied under Guru A. Lakshman Swami for those 6 months as well.
Wonderful. So, it sounds to me like you've kind of journeyed across the various banis of Bharatnatyam. So, how did you navigate that? What was the challenges or what were the pluses and minuses?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of my gurus themselves have bring together different banis and have had their own style. For me, whether I am dancing in a particular bani or not does not matter. To me, the most important thing is really how effectively can I tell the stories that I want to say. Whether my body, my remandi, how much I rather like. uh, Whether I keep my hands like this, like that, those are very minor things. It is the ability to tell the story um, in 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 a very good way is what matters most.
Absolutely, and I'm so happy to hear that because I know that people actually get lost in this twisted world of being of a certain bani and of not being of certain lineages and such. So tell me more about your experience with Bragaka.
So the first time I took classes from her was in a workshop when she visited United States. I think that was in 2009. And then ever since then, almost every year she has come here, and almost every year I have gone to her workshops. And then also every time I go to Chennai, I go and work under her. And when I was there for 6 months. I went to classes over, and even during COVID, we are having multiple classes video. So I am very, very fortunate to be able to learn under her. Um, I think I think the biggest gift that she has given. I have always been interested in padams and javalis. Um, my book to read is basically Kshetraya Padams. When I have nothing else to do, that's what I do. Um, and she has given another dimension to it. Thinking about how to portray a particular hero or heroine. What is the situation? How do you bring even the smallest detail into the performance, or into the learning has been the greatest gift from her to me.
Absolutely. I've heard that she's such a wonderful teacher, and I'm really delighted to listen to your love for Kshetriya Padams because his work contains so much of movement and poetry and emotions, and it's just wonderful. And you are going to be presenting two works of your guru, Bragaka. So, but you do have a third piece that you're presenting for us today, which is a work that you've choreographed on your own. I'm so curious to learn about your choreography process and tell us a little bit more about this work that you're doing, how you conceived it, and what went behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure. So I am presenting a work called Descent of the Ganges or Ganga Avarana, which is my own choreography. And the idea came to me about in 2013 when I was I was kind of like doing some research on songs on Shiva, and then I stumbled onto this beautiful uh, composition of Mysore Sadashiva Rao in Purvi Kalyani, and it started as Gangadhara. So as I kind of like that, went through it and then thought about it, um, I thought maybe I can tell story of Ganga in this through that composition. At the same time, I was also having different conversations about um, female empowerment, the glass ceiling that a lot of women encounter at work, etc., with a friend of mine. And then for me, uh, Ganga's story kind of epitomized some of those things. For example, in any pagan religion, if you compare Shiva and if you compare Ganga, Ganga would be a bigger goddess than Shiva. In fact, during Vedic times, it was so. Shiva was a minor god of one of the directions, and then Ganga was the mother, right? She was like the mother who gave life to many. Um, so based on who is telling the story, I think the stories themselves change in their structure, in what happens within that story. I think to a patriarchal society or to a religion where more than like the god is for water, god is for food, where the spiritual stuff comes into picture, like maybe nirvana, things like those. I think in those cases, like gods like Shiva become bigger than the other gods who will be called demigods, right? So I was basically thinking about all these, and in my rendition, for the most part, I went with this traditional story. But then once Shiva captures Ganga, thinking of her power as arrogance, um, she she says that okay, to get out of this the bond, right, that she's tied, to get out of it, she has to be not powerful but smart. So she slowly starts trickling down his forehead, closes his eyes, and then closes his nose. So he is not able to see, not able to breathe, which is not an issue for yogic Shiva. And then as she is about to kind of grip onto his lips, which is indicative of sexual union in a lot of our mythology, right? He realizes her pranks and then laughs at her and then lets her off gently. So it's a different take on the Puranic or mythologic story. Um, for me, also, the biggest thing was here, it wasn't a subdue of a female or subdue of a woman by a man, but more of like equal play between those. And that was the idea for me. And then when during choreography, I kind of tried to research about how Ganga, like, like Ganga flows through Himalayas and then flows to the plains, right? So Himalaya, the flowing in the Himalaya is basically how the idea of she jumping from heaven into Shiva's head came about, right? Shiva lives in Kailasa. So, and she starts as different streams, and then like all those are combined to become Ganga. So there are all these smaller streams combining to become Ganga. And all these smaller streams, and there are mainly five of them, are of different character. One is Mandakini, who flows very slowly. Another is like Kali, like she is very dark and she flows very forcefully. So these all these different styles of movement, right, of river coming together to form Ganga. So I try to incorporate movements that are indicative of that. So yeah, a lot of these ideas went into the choreography, and over time it has changed a little bit as well. And also, I mean, I can talk about this for a long time. Also, for me, the idea of using the stage space as such, um, as heaven in one corner and earth in another corner, as Ganga starts from one particular corner of the stage and she flows to the other corner where Shiva is, and meaning Shiva is standing in on the earth and Ganga is jumping from heaven to his head to earth. So, and they meet in the middle. So basically, it is also somewhat spatial as such as well in choreography. And I'm also using like different speeds of jatis. Like for Shiva, it starts in very like first speed and then goes to second speed and then goes to third speed. All the swaras goes increase in speed as he realizes what is going on. And then for Ganga, from beginning from the get-go itself, it is in third speed. It's like very fast, showing her force of movement. And I use jatis for Ganga and swara for Shiva to kind of like bring that idea out more.
Wonderful, Ganesha. In fact, I think when we were doing the curatorial process, this was one work that we were all like definitely excited by. So you spoke to us about how you used space and time to create this work. Tell me something about how did you put the music together? What was that process like?
Yeah, so and thank you very much for that question. Music, I think, is the most important thing, right? One of the most important things. And I took this composition to Snigdha Venkatramani, who is one of my best friends, and she's an awesome musician, singer, music um, choreographer. And I took her to this. I took this composition to her, and then I explained my ideas of like using the space, using the speed, and using the swaras for Shiva, and using the jatis uh, for Ganga. And then she set up all the swaras in how I was imagining. And first, we use them separately, and at some point, to show both Shiva and Ganga together, we used like them interchangeably. So she, as you will see, she has composed one of the best music I've heard, and I love that music.
Did you have any particular say in the raga choices, or how does that conversation? What does that conversation look like with you and Snigdha?
Yeah, so in this particular case, since the composition was already set in Purvi Kalyani by the composer himself, right, Mysore Sadashiva Rao, we did not have um, the conversation about raga itself. We had conversation about speed and notes and and how the notes flow and all those things like what speed and Krishnanade, Chatushanade, within the Rupa Katara that this composition is in. We had all those uh, talks. However, for my other works where Snigdha has composed music for me, we of course start with Naga choices.
Nice. So I quickly want to ask you to talk to us about the two pieces that you're doing, which belongs to Bragaka. I know you kind of describe each one, but my question to you is, why did you choose those two pieces to be presented at this particular festival?
Thank you. For me, Abhinaya is always very, very important part of my dancing. Like Padams and Javalis, like Abhinaya-oriented pieces have been always very important, mostly because I love uh, and showcasing those because of that reason is important. If I did not enjoy what I'm dancing, how are audience going to enjoy my dancing? Right? That's my philosophy as well. And um, for me, I wanted to showcase something that I hadn't performed before. That was one of the criteria. And also, since Ganga is a female protagonist, I wanted to also keep the same theme where um, in both Padams and Javalis, the protagonist is woman, which is which is if you know me and if you know my works, I often pick male-oriented padams, male-oriented javalis often. But for that reason, in this particular performance, I picked both female protagonists in my padam and javali, and I ran my ideas by Bragak as well, and she suggested I do 81C, which is a Kshetraya padam, and Padam Pele, which is Subbarama Iyer's Tamil dance.
Well, now I think we've heard enough, and everyone is so excited. So let's go on and actually watch Ganesh dance to these wonderful three compositions that he's presenting for us.
Namaskaram. My name is Ganesh Vasudeva, and it is my pleasure to perform for Erasing Borders. My first piece today is Descent of the Ganges or Gangavatarana. Hindu mythology tells us that river goddess Ganga originally flowed in the heavens. Sage King Bhagirath convinced her to flow to the earth for the benefit of mankind. Ganga agreed to flow to the earth, however, warned that her torrential currents would wash away the earth. Sage King Bhagirath prayed to Shiva, and Shiva agreed to put his matted hair locks in the path of the heavenly river. Mythology tells us that in her arrogance, Ganga tried to wash Shiva away. Realizing this, Shiva ties her up in his matted hairlocks. And Sage King Bhagirath prays to Shiva to let her off, and Shiva opens his one lock and lets Ganga off gently. However, in this particular rendition, using artistic liberty and imagination, I take the story a little bit farther. When Shiva ties Ganga in his hair, Ganga realizes that she cannot win this battle with power or Shakti. Instead, she uses Yukti or smartness. She slowly starts dripping on his forehead, closing first his third eye, then dripping onto his eyes, closing his other two eyes, and then slowly dripping on his nose, causes him to stop breathing. Shiva is a yogi, and as Ganga is about to drip onto his lips, indicative of the sexual union, Shiva realizes her pranks and lets her off gently. This is a choreography of my own, and I am using Mysore Vasudeva Achar's Kriti in Purvi Kalyani Raga and Rupakatala, Gangadhara Tripurahara, Descent of the Ganges or Gangavatarana.
नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रयम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकालाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। गंगाधर त्रिपुरहर श्री सारंगधर गंगाधर त्रिपुरहर श्री सारंगधर गंगाधर त्रिपुरहर श्री
My second presentation today is a Kshetraya Padam, Nanne Penladu Summi, in Ragamalika. In this, three heroines, one Mugdha, a young girl, second a Madhya, a little bit older girl, and then third one, Pragalba, a mature girl, ask Muvagopala or Krishna to marry her and no one else. The younger, Mugdha, says, "The other day you promised me to marry me, so today you should marry me. Please choose me." Madhya says, "The other day you took me to flower garden and then you kissed me, so please choose me, Krishna, to marry." The mature one says, "You and I grew up together as friends. When I came of age, we fell in love together. Please marry me." Nanne Penladu Summi, a choreography of my guru, Srimati Braga Bissell.
నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చూమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చూమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చూమి నాయనము వగోబాల నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చూమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నయనము వగోబాల నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నయనము వగోబాల నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి అన్నున మావారు వరాలడగకుండ చేసెగాని నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి అన్నున మావారు వరాలడగకుండ చేసెగాని నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి అన్నున మావారు వరాలడగకుండ చేసెగాని నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి సన్నులు రాకమునుపే సరసములాడుచు నీవు ఎన్నరాని మోహమున నాకిచిన వాసలు తలచి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచువి సన్నులు రాకమునుపే సన్నులు రాకమునుపే సరసములాడుచు నీవు ఎన్నరాని మోహమున నాకిచిన బాసలు తలచి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి ఎందెంతో నన్ను లాలించి ఇంటికి తోడుకుపోయి విందసేయక నా మోవి విందారగించిన సొగసున నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి ఎందెంతో నన్ను లాలించి ఎందెంతో నన్ను లాలించి ఇంటికి తోడుకుపోయి విందసేయక నామోవి విందారగించిన సొగసున నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి తెలియనైతి చిన్ననాడే తెలియనైతి చిన్ననాడే తేలించి మూవ గోపాల అలరువిల్తుని కేళి నన్నలవాడు చేసిన సామి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి తెలియనైతి చిన్ననాడే తెలియనైతి చిన్ననాడే తేలించి మూవ గోపాల అలరువిల్తుని కేళి నన్నలవాడు చేసిన సామి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడుచుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చుమి నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చుమి నాయనము వగోవాల నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చుమి నాయనము వగోవాల నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చుమి నాయనము వగోవాల నన్నే పెండ్లాడు చుమి
My third and last presentation today is a Chavali in Tamil by Subramaiyer, Madapaile in Raga Paras. In this, a young girl tells Kama not to shoot arrows at her when her husband is not home. She says, "When my husband comes home, I'm going to tell him and he will teach you a lesson." Do you know who my husband is? My husband is none other than Lord Murugan. This is a choreography of my guru, Srimati Braga Basil. In this choreography, Bragaka uses 5 arrows of Kama or Cupid. Hindu mythology tells us that Kama or the Cupid uses 5 different flowers as his arrows. One is Kamala or red lotus, which is shot at the heart, creating love in young maidens. Second arrow is Ashoka, shot at mind, stupefying the mind and making young girls think only of their paramour. The third arrow is jasmine flower, shot at the eyes, making eyes cry uncontrollably. The fourth arrow is mango flowers, shot at the lips, making young maidens not eat or drink. Unable to eat or drink? Fourth arrow is mango flowers, shot at lips, making lovers not eat or drink. The fifth arrow, blue lily or Aravinda, makes one go crazy. This particular 5 arrows is used in this choreography.
மதப்பயலே கணை எய்குறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்குறாயதல் மன்னன் வரட்டும் புத்தி சொல்கிறே மதப்பயலே கணை எய்குறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்குறாய் சொல்கிறே மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாயதல் மன்னல் வரட்டும் புத்தி சொல்கிறே மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாயந்தல் மல்லல் வரட்டும் புத்தி சொல்கிறே மதப்பயலே கணை அதிக சுந்தரவடி வேலனை மிக நள்ளி அதிக சுந்தரவடி வேலனை மிக நள்ளி அதிக சுந்தரவடி வேலனை மிக நள்ளி அடுத்தவர் என்றென்னை பாராமலோராமல் அதிக சுந்தரவடி வேலனை மிக நள்ளி அடுத்தவர் என்றென்னை பாராமலோராமல் அதிக சுந்தரவடி வேலனை மிக நள்ளி அடுத்தவர் என்றென்னை பாராமலோராமல் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாயந்தல் மல்லல் வரட்டும் புத்தி சொல்கிறே மதப்பயலே கணை ஆசை கணவனில்லா வேளையிலே உனது மீசை முறுக்கி கொண்டு துள்ளுரா ஆசை கணவனில்லா வேளையிலே உனது மீசை முறுக்கி கொண்டு துள்ளுரா ஆசை கணவன் இல்லா வேளையிலே உனது மீசை முறுக்கி கொண்டு துள்ளுரான் நாசகாலிருப்பவர் இப்படியும் செய்வாரோ நாயகனில்லா வீட்டில் ராவில் வந்து அஞ்சாமல் நாசகாலிருப்பவர் இப்படியும் செய்வாரோ நாயகனில்லா வீட்டில் ராவில் வந்து அஞ்சாமல் நாசக்கால் இருப்பவர் இப்படியும் செய்வாரோ நாயகனில்லா வீட்டில் ராவில் வந்து அஞ்சாமல் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாயந்தல் மன்னன் வரட்டும் புத்தி சொல்கிறே மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாய் மதப்பயலே கணை எய்கிறாய்
Now, that was a stunning performance, Ganesh. Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of our wonderful festival. Now, I have a question for you, and this is this is about being a male dancer in the arena of Indian classical dance here in the United States. Talk to me about it. What are some of the challenges that you face? What are some of the ups and downs, pluses and minuses?
I think being a male dancer, especially in Bharatanatyam, is hard anywhere in India or in outside of India. Um, I think growing up, a lot of us male dancers are the only ones in our dance classes. There are not many men until unless you went to Kalakshetra, or an institution like that. We go through a lot of hardships, from sometimes within family, sometimes in society, but also there is in unexpected places we find encouragement as well, from our gurus, maybe from our parents or well wishers. Being a male dancer, especially in Bharatanatyam, which was mostly done by women in the past, because of that, it has mostly female protagonists or female-oriented pieces, right? Like Varnams are almost always from the point of view of heroine, and there are a lot of pieces that are heroine oriented. So so that is interesting as well. We grow up learning those, uh, and at some point we may say, "Oh, I want to tell stories that are relevant to me, like as a male, right?" That could be some of the issues, or it could be that as a man, we may not know how to portray a girl effectively, right? If I'm doing a Varnam, if in that Varnam, if I'm telling a story of a girl, I should be convincing as this is the story of a girl, not Ganesh as a male dancer, right? So there are all these interesting issues that come into picture. Um, and I mean, in Abhinaya, especially in Padams and Javaris, right? Like where there are a lot of uh, characters heroines are almost always um, heroines, females, how do you delicately show that? So all those things come into picture. Thankfully, my gurus have been providing very good guidance for me in all these areas. Um, this is probably also because why I wanted to tell like different stories and then do my own choreography, like pick items where protagonist is male, and I have done couple of concerts where all the pieces are men, like men, right? From the point of view of a man. Bharata, Manasa, all those have been like that. And my uh, new production, which was going to be aired in uh, was going to be performed in April and May of this year, was called Boys Don't Dance. So basically, talking about why there are not many boys in classical Indian or otherwise dance classes and what kind of issues we face, etc. However, because of COVID, it is postponed indefinitely.
So, Ganesh, I have a question for you about, what you just said about some of the challenges that male dancers face. What do you think should change in society so that more young boys and more young men can find a support system to follow their passion for dancing? What do you think? What do you think is the one thing that we should change about us as a society to accept male dancers?
I think it is our attitude, our as in I mean parents, society, gurus, everyone, right? Um, I think often a lot of boys do not even voice their interest in dancing, thinking mentioning that may be considered as a bad thing, right? And parents, when they hear their boys saying, "I want to go to dance class," shut them down and then say, "Oh, why don't you go to party class, singing class, or mridangam, right?" I know many of my friends and many of the artists I see, even dance teachers send their boys to Mridangam class rather than teaching them Bharatanatyam or any other Indian classical dance. I think to some extent I understand that concern. Like I think they want to make their boys' life harder because society in general always is not always encouraging when boys dance. So I would say that it is we need to change our mindset that dancing is not just for girls; it can be for boys.
That's so true. Change your mindset. And that's something that, this COVID-19 is making all of us do, forcing us to do, which I think is a good thing. A lot of good things have been happening. I mean, along with all the bad things that's been happening, there's been glimmer of hope. Like, for instance, we were still able to bring this festival. It's not, it is not being done live, but we do have it as a virtual offering. So I do hope that you will be able to, bring your new production online in some way or the other. Ganesh, it's been wonderful talking to you. I wish you the very best for all your future projects. And thank you so much for being part of this year's festival. This has been such an honor and privilege for us to be able to host and present you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shruti, for having me in Erasing Borders. It is my pleasure to be on this year.